Special thanks to Argus the Cat for allowing the story to be shared. Check the description for their details, and now, onto the story. The architecture here is sublime. My voice had a strange effect flowing through the not-quite-concrete sky bridge. It almost echoed back upon my companion and I, but I got the feeling that the people walking 10 feet away wouldn't hear anything more than a resonant hum from me. The magic of the buildings distracted me from their puzzled looks. Leaning against the ledge of the sky bridge, a corolla vine draped over his shoulder, my companion Quor responded, "Yes, it's quite a nice place. Not our most grand, but I figured that after a week of negotiations and high government and landmarks, you'd want to go for a walk somewhere real. We may be new friends, but I already know you are a man of reality." We shared a laugh. Man of reality was how our species had misinterpreted each other's names on first contact. It had become a running joke between the two of us as talks had begun. Right now, we were getting a breath of fresh air. Growing up on Earth, I had lived in slums to high-rises and everything in between in my life, but the buildings here on Prompt took the cake. Everything was designed for both beauty and long-term functionality. The walkway we were standing on was 6 levels up in an apartment complex, surrounded by radiant plant life and shafts of light from their main star. The trick with the sound bouncing back on us, that was everywhere here. Buildings spiraled up and around us. Shops dotted the area. Woven around the roads were bike lanes or transport pods, and the whole thing came together to seem like a chunk of utopia. And this was just a housing zone, not even a high-class one. Not that it seemed to matter much. The kid version of me screamed that this would make the best game of tag or hide-and-go-seek ever. All right, much as I've enjoyed this walk, I am starving. Want to grab a bite to eat before we get back to the conference? I know our species eat mostly the same things now, so we must be able to find something around here, yeah? I was still getting odd looks, and a few casually snapped photographs. Never thought being human would make me a celebrity, but it shouldn't ruin a good meal. Quor tilted his elongated head sideways in what I had come to learn as mild confusion. I'm sure we could find someone to lend us their kitchen around here. Many would welcome an alien visitor. He got off his ledge and stretched a little. Let's ask around. Wait, Ed, ask around? You don't know any places here? It's not too far from the conference hall. Places? You know, places to eat, restaurants. Again, the head tilt. The translator isn't working correctly on that. Eating place that is not a kitchen. What are you talking about, Rick? In my brain, the thought took root. This had happened a few times so far, starting with when they had shown us the obviously more efficient method of plant-modeled AI-based architecture, moving on to us showing them augmented reality setups, and then them in turn showing us Wi-Fi compression that made ours look childish. Both species had some things that were obvious to them, and to others, well, not alien, but just the thoughts that hadn't happened yet. We would have eventually made those human dream cities, but thanks to our new friends, there were bids on the market right now to reshape Detroit and Chicago and Portland into miniature paradises. They would have figured out how to layer digital information onto their own physical cities eventually, but now they didn't have to figure it out, because we just gave them the tech for it. They would have eventually opened a cafe, but now, you're telling me you don't have restaurants. Okay, if you're going to keep saying that, I'm putting an exception in the translator. Hang on, and no, we don't have not kitchens. He fiddled with his comm pad for a moment before pocketing it again. What exactly are they? It's a place you go and exchange currency for goods and services. Don't patronize me, he smirked. This had been the answer to one of the first questions one of the senators had asked of the praetors of Prompt. It was widely quoted on comedy shows from both our peoples and the dramatic retelling of the day's events on his. That was another thing they had. Imagine the West Wing mixed with the Daily Show every day as a news broadcast with the budget and writers of a blockbuster movie. It was a format made for people like me, and I hoped that caught on at home. I understand it's a type of store. Do they sell kitchen time? No, they sell meals. You order from a menu, usually specialized to a region or style, and then they cook your food in their kitchen and then bring it to you. It wasn't until this moment that I realized how hard it was to describe some things. Then you eat the food at the restaurant, or not. Some of them do takeout or delivery. He scratched his head as we walked back toward the main hall. But how do you know the food is safe or to your taste if you have not prepared it yourself? Business regulations for the first part. As for the second, well, sometimes it's not to your taste. Then you don't eat there again, or you try something different off the menu. And if the menu doesn't have what you wish to eat, go somewhere else. Or, as we've been doing with all these damned banquets, just tough it out. A shared laugh at that. As we ascended the steps of the main hall, we had to wade through the crowd around the front door. People there just to see a human, many blissfully unaware that I was in their midst, although I did get some glimpses. The crowd the first day had been bad. After 2 weeks, it was fine. Fine enough that security wasn't that tight anymore. We weren't the big show anyway here. Your idea would never work here, Kor said to me as we pushed through. We may be willing to change in the way that we do, but cooking for ourselves has been our way forever. You'd never get enough to shift from that to succeed as a business. Really, even though it can be so much more efficient, food wherever you need it, whenever it's convenient, no extra work on your part. There's some math behind how it's far easier for a dedicated chef to make 30 meals than you to make one at home. I just don't know the math right now. Tell you what, he said as we finally breached the front door. We'll get some of the cultural melding funding that our government's put far too much money into, and let's try it. When no one shows up, at least we'll have lunch. Dinner. What? I am seriously starving. I'm getting something to eat from the kitchen before we try this. And then, yes, we are trying this. Neither of us are needed today anyway. You'll see. Get us a small place with a kitchen while I go get a sandwich. So what do we have here, Kor? Kor nodded around at the place where several workers were delivering packages at an alarming rate. The kitchen is in the back as you requested, and there's decent foot traffic. This is part of one of the shifting markets, so our rent on this location will last until the end of the day tomorrow. I suspect that will be long enough to prove one of us wrong. He had to shuffle aside several times through that sentence as delivery teams hauled food and tables and a box of printed menus in. Think of it as proving one of us right. Now, I'm going to set up the front area and put up the sign I had made. Since you foolishly volunteered to do the cooking, it cannot be that hard. That smugness wasn't going to last long. I'll handle service and help you where I can. Let's get these tables set up and make sure we can handle everything on the menu. It took about 2 hours to turn this empty shop shell into a thing that looked like a restaurant. Tables, chairs, silverware on the tables, menus also on the tables, food stocked in the kitchen, sanitizer fluid that was really way too hard to get a hold of, tables not too close to each other, Kor getting food prepped against his better judgment. All those years working as a prep cook, as a kid long before my political career, finally coming in handy. This was going to be sloppy, but Kor had kind of gotten into my head, and I didn't really think it would work. This was just going to be something fun to do with a friend, instead of trying to convince our respective species that just handing over our warp drive plans was a good idea. Excuse me? A confused woman's voice came through my translator from the door. Oh, you're one of the humans. What exactly is a cafe? Well, I'm glad you asked. It's a silly idea, Kor's voice echoed from the kitchen. Ha, no. It's a cultural exchange. We're testing human-style businesses here to see if anything really works. A cafe is a spot where you can take a break from your day and pay someone else to make you a light meal. Care to be part of a grand experiment between species? The young lady's face lit up, and in that instant, I knew Kor was going to regret this. What just happened? We successfully operated a small restaurant for a day. That was successful? Yep, the emergency restock kind of set us back, but I didn't want to just close down when the food ran out when we were doing so well. I've never cooked so much in my life. I think I may actually never have cooked that much total in my actual life. This is not hyperbole. How did we even serve all those people? Why did all those people come in? We were both slumped at an empty table in the middle of the room. It was evening now, the sun setting, casting a colored glow through the perfectly aligned front window. Around us, tables only recently left by the last few customers were still in need of cleaning. In the back, the dishes waited. Right now, the only thing that mattered was the quiche-like dish that sat between us, both of us nibbling at the flaky crust as we rested for a moment. Well, you're a good cook, for one thing. A lot of our customers were young people who haven't yet learned to make their own... What is this? Burter? Bear tam. Right, so they want to experience it. Also, maybe they were on their way home and hungry, or maybe they just wanted to be part of something new. Either way, yes, you win. This worked. But will it catch on? 16 business people and investors asked for my business card. We've got a meeting tomorrow with them to discuss the inner workings of restaurants, look into setting up the legality of it with your world government, and probably end up either rich or broke. If you want. Oh, we may have to quit our day jobs for that. Rick. Kidding, I'm not going to quit. Being a diplomat is too important. But still, I think I'll go to the meeting. It was fun to relive my youth today. Oh, here's your half, by the way. Your people picked up on tipping really fast. I slid a digital wallet across the table. Quor opened it and thumbed approval of receipt, then checked the balance. 16,000... What? What just happened?